I've got, I think, Dr. Gaurav Sharma on the line. Are you there?
Yes, I am, Usman.
A very good afternoon. How are you? Happy Diwali in advance for you.
Happy Diwali to you as well and to all your listeners too.
Thank you so much. I understand I've not been too well, so I've not been reading news. Is it true that you have resigned as a MP for your electorate?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I hope
No,
serious.
yep. No, nothing serious, nothing serious.
Nothing serious. Okay. Well, yes, look, I have resigned. And the reason to resign, unfortunately, was that, there's been a four-step process. So the first one was after I made some serious claims about bullying, which were never investigated. The Labour caucus in Parliament suspended me from caucus. Secondly, then they ended up expelling me from caucus. And then thirdly, they were going through a process of removing me as a member of the Labour Party. And for that, they had a 3-member panel. And unfortunately, even there was an issue there with natural justice as well, because again, two out of those 3 people on the panel were already part of the expulsion meeting. So their final report basically said, remove Gaurav Sharma as the member of the Labour Party. So that was last week that the report was sent to me. And then last Saturday, I caught up with their governing council. But members of their governing council told me in confidence that, what the party is now looking at doing is, because they're worried that I'm asking all these questions in Parliament, they want to remove me. But if they remove me now, it will trigger a by-election. So what they want to do is, and Labour doesn't want a by-election, what they want to do is they want to remove me within 6 months of the general election next year. And then they wouldn't have to do a by-election, because you don't have a by-election if it's within 6 months of the general election. So they can remove me with the new Waka jumping rule, which the Labour Party brought in.
Yes.
And then, so my biggest concern here is, about democracy, because if you see everything that's happened in the last 2.5 months, there's an issue when somebody says they are being bullied, you investigate it, right? I have the evidence, I need to provide it to an independent investigator. That has just not happened at all. And it's just sent a wrong message to everybody else in their workplaces that, your boss doesn't have to investigate, they don't have to look at anything. But also for people who make claims against me that if I bullied them, I'm saying investigate that too. If you think I'm a bad employer, I haven't treated my staff well, then why don't you investigate? I mean, it's so odd that I keep saying, do that. So my concern here is for people of Hamilton and the democracy and them not having a voice. So unfortunately, I've had to resign, preempting, Labour's move, and that's now triggered a by-election. So that's where we're at.
The Prime Minister spoke to the Prime Minister as well. There was nothing of what you're telling me that they wanted to get rid of you as an independent MP or get rid of you from the Labour camp altogether. Where did you get that information from, that there was something in the pipeline that they wanted to use that waka jump and remove you from who you were? Who gave you that information?
So I'll say 2 points on that. So the first one is, this is the same Prime Minister when I wrote an article about bullying, just in general, on 11th of August.
Yes.
And on 12th of August, she said, Dr. Gaurav Sharma is a valued member of the party. We are concerned about his mental health, right? And she said there's no way to prove that there is bullying. Then I ended up providing screenshots of other, I'm not the only MP. There are so many other MPs. I mean, that's so concerning that a government has all these MPs who are being bullied and the Prime Minister is not worried about their health, their mental health. This is the same Prime Minister who said there won't be a predetermined meeting during my suspension. And as you know, she called the meeting. There was a predetermined meeting. The whole caucus met the day before. But when I said there was a predetermined meeting, they said, no, there's no proof. Then I provided a 55-minute conversation of a senior MP saying there was predetermined meeting. So at every point, they've been lying, they've done that. Similarly, when I said that they were going to remove me from the party, the report they'd done this week when I resigned, the first thing the party said, no, we just said that in the report. We haven't actually agreed that we were going to do that, right? We got a report that says we should remove you, kick you out, but we didn't say we were going to do it. Well, guess what? They removed me this week. Right?
Are you calling the Prime Minister who you served under, who you fought the election under, who you were in good terms under, a liar? Is she a liar?
Yes, she is, and this is what I'm saying. I've just given you a range of...
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
This is just related to mine. Now,
Fair enough.
But then coming back to your question, so where did I hear this? So just like, Labour MPs are talking to me and saying, even as I said, 55-minute conversation where a Labour MP talked about the predetermined meeting for my caucus suspension. Similarly, members of the Labour Party Governing Council, there are 24 people who run the party, two of those members contacted me in confidence, and they said, this is what we worried about. This is what's going to happen next year. The Prime Minister wants to remove you next year with Waka jumping rule, and there won't be a by-election then, and they don't have to have a by-election. So that's where the information came from.
Do you think having a by-election would not encourage, I wouldn't say encourage, would undermine the Labour's interest or the Labour's deal to actually go into the next election and fight that election on the platform that they wish to fight, knowing for a fact that there is a by-election? That would damage the campaign process itself straight away. And I understand you are standing as an independent candidate in the same electorate that you fought that seat under. Are you in a damage control mode, or you are on a damaging scale mode? What is happening here? I'm not having a go. I'm not having a go. I want to just know what is happening.
No, and I appreciate your genuine question. All I want is people of Hamilton to have a voice in Parliament, right? If I had just stayed and the Prime Minister would have removed me sometime in February, before the within 6 months of the general election, February, March, then Hamilton West would have absolutely no voice in Parliament, right? What happens now is people of Hamilton West get to decide who they want to vote for, and they might as well vote for a Labour MP. I don't know that, right? I have no way of knowing that. I don't have the machinery, the polling process and all of that Labour Party does. And I think one thing people have to really realize, in 2 months that, we've gone through this, I'm the only one who has really suffered, the damage. I don't have a job today. I'm unemployed. I'm not a member of Parliament anymore. So why would I could have just collected my check for another 6 months and just waited until, they removed me. The point here is about democracy. It is not done with the idea of will Labour win or lose or National win or lose. My concern is will people of Hamilton West actually have a voice in Parliament in these times when there are so many things wrong. Look at education, look at health reforms, look at crime, immigration issues, all of these things. We need people to talk in Parliament. And here is the Prime Minister who is trying to do underhanded techniques to silence somebody. And if you just wait for a second and just think about it, all of this is related to an independent investigation that hasn't happened. If that had happened and it had said, Gaurav Sharma was bullying his staff, or he's a bad manager, I would have just quit and walked away from it. If
I ask you another serious question, Dr. Sharma, do you regret now when you sit back, relax with a cup of coffee, knowing for a fact that partially that stress you were going through, thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow? I don't want to be sacked. I don't want to be expelled. I don't want this happen. I don't want my reputation to go bad. I've been a good person, saving this country to the best of my ability. Do you regret now that you chose the wrong party to represent the people of Hamilton through the Labour Party into the government machinery? Do you regret that?
So I'll give you two answers to that. A lot of people have asked me this. The first thing is, when I went and joined the Labour Party, so even before, I used to live in Grafton at the medical school, when I was there. I voted for the Prime Minister at that time, when she was just an MP. I voted for her, right? I believed in the values that Labour Party talks about, including kindness. And that's not a entirely new thing they talk about, right? They've talked about kindness for a very long time. I believed in all the things they've talked about. And, I think people often don't realize when, as a candidate, you put your face on a billboard, you're also saying that I commit to the values of this party. And then you go on the street and you door knock and you say to every other normal citizen, and you say to them, hey, I believe in this party and I'm here door knocking for them because these are the values we believe in, right? The saddest part for me is, I still believe in those values. The Labour Party doesn't believe in those values. But in many ways, I have convinced so many people to vote for me and for the Labour Party based on the values that we thought we shared. So that's that. Do I regret getting into politics? Absolutely not. Because look, I'm not. I don't get paid more compared to being a doctor. I don't do less work compared to being a doctor. If anything,
but it's for the love of it, isn't it? You want to save the people. You want to save the country that has given you so much.
Yes, I want to challenge the status quo and the system that is in place. And and what happens is, because I have a backup, I could walk. I could go and practice medicine anywhere. I could go and practice in Australia or somewhere else. I've got an MBA. I could do something with that. I'm doing this because I don't have to worry about tomorrow will there be food on the table or not. And I think that's where a lot of people get scared in politics. There are other colleagues, as I said, they are saying they're getting bullied. What they're worried about is their mortgage, their family. What job are they going to have next election or not? I don't have to worry about those sort of things. So I absolutely don't regret getting into politics. I don't regret that I raised the concerns about bullying, because I was bullied. Other MPs are getting bullied, and I've raised some genuine questions. And if you did an independent investigation, Indian saying "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani," you would know either way.
Are you planning to contest the next general election?
Yes,
Under any other political party, or you wanting to stand for that seat you were currently occupying as an independent candidate?
Yes. So.
Oh no. Put it this way. I'm going to ask you. Have you been approached by a group of people or individual who was telling you, "I will back you up. You form a new party, and you'll be part of that party"? Has that happened?
Okay, so I'll answer all your questions in this minute. So the first thing is, yes, I'm running for by-election.
Yes.
I definitely am. And again, the message I'm sending here to government is, you can't shut up a common man, right? Whether I win or not, the message I'm saying is, like this whole time they've thought about, we're going to shut this guy up and get him to sit right at the back seat of Parliament and he's not going to say anything. That's not going to happen. The second thing is, yes, I'm starting my own party, a centrist party, which is not left, which is not right. It is based on getting things done, right? The problem at the moment is we are in these little echo chambers where people from Labour don't want to hear about anything that Labour government is doing wrong. People from National don't want to hear about anything that might have happened during National government and if they've done any wrong policy. We need to focus on how we can move forward rather than just being very much left or right. Then the next point is, and I'm sure, I think you're mentioning Mr. Nahuria, who is, I think,
yes,
on TV, that he's going to support me.
Yes.
I'm going to be very honest. Many people have come in and said to me, I would like to support you financially. I'd like to do volunteering. I can do brochures, pamphlets. And I've said to them, thank you for your offer. Let me consider it. I haven't taken a single dollar from Mr. Nahuria. I don't even have a bank account, right? The party hasn't even started. It's not even registered. So I haven't taken a dollar from anybody, nobody at all. Nothing started. He's definitely offered it, as he said on TV, but so have lots of people in the community, and not just Indians, people from all across the community have offered, and they've supported, morally. They're saying, I can come and do the groundwork for you as well. I'm ready to put the signs up. I'm ready to do the door knocking for you. And it's good to see that support around.
Of course,
But it's nothing to do with, he hasn't said that you start a party and I will own it or I'll run it or anything like that. That's nothing like that. He's just said, if you need support, I can support you.
How important it is for you, especially you, Dr. Gaurav Sharma, to be in Parliament after 2023 election? How important it is? How important is it?
Look, on a personal basis, as I said, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I could pick up my bag and go to, and my stethoscope and go to Australia or practice there. I can practice somewhere in
and make more money.
And make more money and have less stress. I've got an MBA from one of the top universities in America. I had a Fulbright scholarship. I can go back to America, work there, work in finance, pharmaceutical, whatever. So on a personal level, I don't have to do this. I'm not tied to this. But my biggest concern here is about democracy. And when you have a prime minister who's supposed to show leadership towards other people, who's not ready to investigate some serious claims. Even if I was faking it and saying wrong things in any investigation, like if I worked at Apna 990 and I was one of the studio hosts and I said your boss was bullying me or something, they would investigate it. If I worked at McDonald's, they would investigate it.
Of course.
So it's really odd that I'm saying investigate the person who bullied me and investigate me if somebody's saying I bullied them. So it hasn't happened. So my concern here is for democracy. At the end of the day, people of New Zealand decide, right? They vote and they decide where things go. So I leave it to the people to decide, whatever they do.
You've been with the Labour camp for a while. When you have meetings or caucus meetings or when there's a small gathering, is there a group of senior Labour Party leadership team that actually goes in a corner and starts making their own decision without letting, people like you or other juniors, they have just come in and segregate them and talk amongst themselves. Is there a group formed within the Labour Party caucus that actually gets together, gels together, and makes decision without anyone else knowing? Does that happen in the Labour camp?
So, I'll start by saying, I'm not the first MP to speak about or against Labour this
that
year.
we know, yeah.
Louisa Wall this year, she left as well. And one of the things, if you remember, she said there are teams within teams, right, in Labour Party. And yes, there's a group of only 3 or 4 people who run everything.
Who are they? Who are they?
The Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay, Deputy Prime Minister Grant Robertson. Who else?
Yeah, but let me quickly just finish my sentence. For example, I'll give you an example. During COVID, the flights to India, for example, were closed. From India were closed. They said, well, there are certain countries we're not going to take people from at all.
Fair enough.
Well, as an Indian MP in the Labour Party, I found out after my constituents started contacting me. Right? I had no idea. I'll give another example. I was in a meeting with Hamilton City Council, and they said to me, as you know, there's a housing policy coming out on Tuesday. And I was like, I don't really know there's housing policy coming out on Tuesday. On that Tuesday, and here's the interesting bit, listen to this.
Yes.
On that Tuesday, they put all the MPs, most of the MPs in a room. They locked the room, took away our cell phones and our watches and everything. Then they gave us like a 4-page policy. And they said, the Prime Minister is now going to announce this policy outside, and you are going to hear about it at the same time that the rest of the country is going to hear about it, right? And we're not going to give you your phones or your watches or anything in case you leak out this policy 5 minutes or 10 minutes before the Prime Minister does. So we hear about the policies at the same time as the Prime Minister announces it, and then we get locked into a room. You can't even go to the toilet.
You're kidding me. You're kidding me.
This is how it works, right? That's what I'm saying. So people say to me, for example, I'll give another example, right? Immigration issue. People, offshore stuck migrants, right? I've been talking about it in caucus and repeatedly saying there is hypocrisy because we're apologizing for dawn raids happened decades ago where, our Pacifica communities were targeted by Immigration New Zealand. And that was wrong, right? They were moved out 50 years ago, whatever time it was. We're apologizing for that now. Yet we have people, Indian people with valid visas who are stuck overseas. Why? There's so much hypocrisy into this, but I wasn't allowed to speak about it. Right? Nothing happened. I'll give another example. The Minister of Immigration ended up saying to me, I'm worried about how you're communicating with the immigrants. You're too nice to them, and I want to check your communication with the immigrant population. So they almost raided my office to check my communication with the immigrants.
Why didn't you raise all this before?
Because, look at this, right? I am raising concerns about getting bullied, right? That is something that has been completely
ignored,
neglected in the last 2 months. Imagine if I was saying all those things that I have been raising concerns about in Parliament out in the public. I raised concerns about the health reforms. I agree there needs to be health reforms. My concern is just by changing the name of the organization and putting it on the notepad, you don't get better health reforms, right? But couldn't talk about it openly. Have been talking about it inside. Nobody wants to listen.
So it's Jacinda Ardern, it's Grant Robertson. Who else is there? Because I'm going to talk to them as well. Who else?
I guess Megan Wood is.
Megan Woods, yeah, I know Megan Woods very well. Who else?
Calvin Davis is very involved.
Okay. T. Takarau candidate, yeah? T. Takarau candidate.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Who else?
Michael Wood is very involved.
Okay, that's why he doesn't want to come on my show. He's too scared to come on my show.
Okay, so this is another interesting thing.
Yeah, he's too scared to come. Most of the Labour Party ministers are too scared to come on this show.
Okay, so I'm just going to say some quickly, a couple of points. So Michael Wood said to me during the last 2 months, not only will we ruin your political career, we'll also ruin your medical career, right?
Did he actually say that?
He said it. He's the workplace relations minister. Then he called Indian organizations and said to them, Gaurav Sharma is not allowed to come to Indian events in Auckland. So there was an event in Auckland. I basically got told you can't come in until executive members who are Indian said, we can't do that, right? This guy's elected MP.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I ended up getting re-invited back. I get there. I get told you can't go on the stage. Michael Wood doesn't want you to be on the stage. Just sit on the side. That's fine. At this event, there's judges for the awards, right? One of the judges is Michael Wood's office secretary. She's also the vice president of Labour Party's multicultural branch. So she sits on this governing council, the 24 people governing council. She's the judge, along with Chris Carter, who's the former Labour MP, who's the judge, right? And guess who gets the award? Immigration New Zealand, the best agency to work with. And my question:
when in actual fact, if you rate the ministries that are currently serving under this Labour government, the worst one I would say is health. The second worst one is immigration.
Yes, but technically immigration is worse, because if they were doing their job right, health wouldn't be that bad.
Of course. You got a point, of course.
But they got the best, Immigration New Zealand got the best agency award. Michael Wood was there. And my point is, right, we are giving these people awards from our community when they haven't done anything
for the community. They have not done anything for the community. I remember.
And my final point.
No, go on.
And then this Indian organization said to me, well, you need to apologize for writing this post. Otherwise, we'll never invite you again. But guess what? In the same week, we have Gurudwara in Hamilton, which got raided by Immigration New Zealand. They got told.
I know that one. I know that one.
Protocol in New Zealand. They wore shoes, didn't wear a head covering. And they removed the chadar of the unveiled the cloth of the Guru Granth Sahib. And when I asked the Prime Minister, will she apologize in Parliament? I said to her, will she apologize?
She won't.
Just like she did for Dawn Raid. Will she apologize now?
She won't.
She said no, but Michael Wood said this is an operational matter for immigration. So how is it when it's about collecting awards, they take all the credit for it, the Ministry of Immigration New Zealand getting awards, but when they are raiding our gurdwaras or whatever worship place it is, without following the tikanga, without following the protocol, then it's not their problem.
Oh dear. Has the National Party got in touch with you and told you a few, those, what you call those secrets, that you should do this, Dr. Gaurav Sharma, you should do this, punish Labour, and this is how you're going to punish Labour, spark a by-election, we want to test the credibility of this Labour Party, see who wins this election. If Labour doesn't win this election, this by-election, all other political parties will be on the forefront. Labour will struggle in the next general election. Has someone said that to you?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Look, if anything, parties, apart from, well, actually, even Labour members have been talking to me, as you know, like parties across the board have been coming out and saying, I just hope you're okay. If you feel like, you need anyone to talk to, let us know. Across the board, whether it's ACT Party, Green Party, Labour Party, National Party, all of them have said that. But there's nothing being anything like that, you do this and you do. So nobody's giving me any.
No, nobody's giving you a hint. That's what you're telling me.
No.
Hey, Dr. Sharma, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I haven't finished with you. I'm just running out of time. I probably give you a longer session when you come back. I've got some technical questions that I want to ask. It will not damage. I'm not here to damage control whatever has happened. But I want to know a few facts about how the government of the day, in the form of a Labour Party government, operates, and where is the shortfalls, and what they hide, what they don't hide, who makes decision, who calls the shots, who are the top hierarchy, they form that small team. I want to know all those. It's really interesting, and I think it's important for people who are listening in, and especially from Hamilton. I've got a few friends up there in Hamilton as well who wants to know all about how Labour operates. You be safe, do not stress, have a cup of coffee, sit back and think about what you're going to do for the people of Hamilton. Good luck.
Thank you so much. And the final thing I'm going to say, so the election actually starts in, I think, 33 days. So there's not a long time.
So you're going to go door knocking?
Well, we are all are, but I guess I'm just trying to say to your listeners, make sure you're enrolled to vote if you live in Hamilton West. And from 28th November to 10th of December is the voting. So please go out there and make sure you do vote, whoever you vote.
And if you're going down there to vote, make sure you vote for Dr. Gaurav Sharma. There you go. Well, I've made it easy for you. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless. Goodbye.